Hello there, fans of the Supreme Duel channel. Taff and Wait here. And I want to assure you that I have not died, and neither has Victory. The upload schedule was tarnished by a ring of super personal stuff that you probably don't care about. But for returning subscribers, know that every video we promised is coming this month. And this upload is the first of many. So in my effort to distance myself from Dragon Ball and save my sanity, I'll do the exact opposite by doing a Dragon Ball video. You know, for views and whatnot. So, we all know that Gogeta is returning to the Dragon Ball franchise with its main continuity this time, Dragon Ball Super. But this has brought up an important question. What happened to the Battle of Gods saga? For a quick recap of the Dragon Ball franchise since its revival in 2012, which I'll keep short because no doubt all of you know this, Battle of Gods is a film where Goku fights Beerus and uses the Super Saiyajin God form for the first time. You can think of the movie as a primordial form of Super. In the film, it's stated that Goku doesn't think fusion would be enough to defeat Beerus. Yet, in Super Saiyajin God, he fights him and thinks he actually has a chance of winning. The same events happen beat for beat in the anime adaptation, but this statement does not exist in the manga. Anyway, this led to a simple conclusion. Super Saiyajin God, and hence the God forms in general, are superior to Vegito. People have argued Super Saiyajin 3 Vegito or Super Vegito, but either way, anyone who debates Dragon Ball has heard this argument that the God forms have a higher multiplier than Vegito does. And for a little side note, this wasn't originally in my script, but some people also like to argue that the Super Saiyajin 4 multiplier is the equivalent of Super Vegito, based off the Hero's Legacy guide, where it's stated that Super Vegito is comparable to Super Saiyajin 4. And most people use this as a reference to the Potara multiplier rather than Vegito himself, which I find to be more accurate, but I won't really get into that, but I just want to address it. I do know that's a thing, and I'll probably address it at the end of the video after I've gone through everything I've already worked through in my head. So for now, I will mention that I think there's enough evidence to prove that the God forms, and really any transformation Saiyajins have, do not surpass fusion. Now, there are 3 times in the franchise now where fusion has proved to be stronger than even Super Saiyajin Blue, the strongest God form. So let's get into those. The first happens in the manga, during the Goku Black arc. Vegito appears and in just his base he blows a hole in Zamasu. But defenders of the God forms would then say Zamasu was caught off guard, and this negates the idea that base Vegito curves blue. But I would counter by saying that Zamasu was charging an attack, so he was more vulnerable. Sure. But he knew Goku and Vegeta were inside that building, so he should have been at least a little aware, not to mention he can sense ki and just assumed that Vegeta was a new transformation, not a fusion, which would indicate a strength increase from Blue Goku. But that's fair, I accepted this as debatable at the time. Then we get to Dragon Ball Super anime, where we have Super Saiyajin God Goku being absolutely shat on by base Kafla. Now, I've made videos on this and discussed its stupidity at length. And I still have one video Victory and I are working on, so I'll try to summarize the problems with this and not get too far into it. Again, this is a contradiction to the idea that Super Saiyajin God surpasses fusion. Most people like to say that Goku was tired, which is true, but I want you to keep in mind that in his Super Saiyajin 2 form, he was keeping up with Kale and Caulifla just fine, so proportionally speaking, his tiredness doesn't really affect how strong his God form should have been. And let's use numbers to better illustrate my point. So, because Goku and Caulifla show themselves to be equal, we'll have them both set as 1 in their base forms. Mutually, every time Goku and Vegeta fuse, they tend to be equal, so Vegeta is also a 1. Kale, her base was shown to only be inferior to Caulifla's, so she would be set at less than 1. Now we're going to need to establish a Potara multiplier to determine how strong these two would get. It's a little dicey, and I'm just going to pick a small number so we can keep this in mind and just move forward. So we're going to say that the Potara multiplier is 400 times the Fusie's base forms. So that means that Vegito would be 400 in his base form, and Kafla in her base form would be at less than 400. Now if we apply the Super Saiyajin 3 multiplier on top of that for Vegito, that means that Vegito would be 160,000. Now, people who believe that the Super Saiyajin God multiplier is greater than fusion would then say that, well, Super Saiyajin God Goku is greater than 160,000. But as you can see from the fight itself, Goku was inferior to Kafla. Base Kafla completely smacked Super Saiyan God Goku. Now, based on the numbers, this doesn't make any sense. So this brings us to the obvious conclusion that Super Saiyan God cannot have a greater multiplier than fusion because an inferior fusion defeated Super Saiyan God. With an inferior base form, no less. If it had been using the Berserk form, it would be a little better. It would have made a lot more sense. But it was just her base, which again would be weaker than Vegito's base. So it's completely unreasonable to try to argue that Super Saiyan God is greater than Super Saiyan 3 Vegito when it lost to someone who wouldn't even be as strong as base Vegito. Now, the final counter people have is that the ritual gives a higher boost than the transformation itself unaided. And I would say this is just another excuse for how inconsistent the series is. But now we have the final nail in this argument's coffin. Super Gogeta. Now, the DBS film hasn't released in the US yet, so I haven't seen it in English. But I did watch a bit of the leaked fight, so what I'm saying in this video would be accurate. Super Saiyan Broly absolutely trounces Goku and Vegeta in their blue states to the point where they have to retreat. However, base Gogeta is able to evade Broly, and Super Gogeta gives him a pretty good brawl. And it's recently come out that the Potara and Metamoran fusion multipliers are the same, so this means Vegeta would have done the same in the same situation. Hello there guys, Tap from the future of editing here. I just want to say that when I originally recorded the video, I had a lot less information and context about both the film and all the guides that are coming out. I didn't realize that the source was VJump, and I understand how unreliable they are. But you should just understand the point I was trying to make here. It's just that the fusions have been recently stated to be comparable in the sense of being trump cards, and as such they would probably be able to fulfill the same purpose at the same time. Now obviously I've seen the evidence for Vegito being a superior fusion, and I don't think that really hurts my argument at all. You can just ignore what I just said and just take what I'm saying now to say if Vegito is indeed far stronger than Gogeta, then it just strengthens my argument even more, because if the God forms can keep up with an inferior fusion, how can it keep up with the superior one? It's kind of the same as the Kafla argument if you really think about it. Alright, that being said, the video was wrapping up, so please get back to that. Which again shows that fusion surpasses the strongest God forms, with seemingly no problems. The only counters I'm going to hear are empty baseless assumptions like the fusion multiplier is greater because their transformations are now greater, or the same ritual God form is stronger BS. But here we have it, 3 instances, all from Dragon Ball Super material, which showcase fusion as being superior. The only real question is if base fusion is superior. Seeing that the manga instance can be argued that Zamasu was off guard, Kafla couldn't beat Super Saiyan Blue Goku in her base, she had to ascend, and Gogeta does transform rather than fight his base against Broly. But despite that small room for debate, I never want to hear anyone try to convince me that the God form surpasses fusion ever again. Unless you have a new argument, don't even bother saying anything. Oh, and to briefly touch on Super Saiyan 4, like I mentioned, the only evidence for the multipliers being comparable is that guide. I don't think through any form of scaling you can reasonably say that Super Saiyan 4 is comparable to the Potara or Metamoran. Just doesn't seem likely to me. The only real argument I could see being made in that point's favor is taking this new information that the multipliers of the Potara and Metamoran fusions are the same, and then applying the fact that Vegeta said that he and Goku should fuse and then become Super Saiyan 4 as Gogeta, implying that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was what was needed to defeat Omega Shenron. But I think it's obvious based off of how Goku was able to catch up to Omega Shenron with his, limit surpass form, that it really wouldn't have taken Super Saiyan 4, and Vegeta was probably just really into that transformation, which I am too, so I understand it. And you guys can see how quickly I want to get this video out, because I said Omega Shenron and not Super Yi Zinglong. That's how tired I am right now. But you guys need this video, and I need to get it out there. Alright, it's time to address the elephant in the room. Tap from the future of editing here once again, and as you can see, I didn't originally mention Ultra Instinct in this video. Once again, time constraints when I was editing it, when I was recording it, that kind of thing. But since I originally recorded the video, it has come out, and we've seen in 3 different versions, the manga, the game, and the anime of Super Dragon Ball Heroes, that Ultra Instinct Goku performs much better against Super Saiyan 3 Kanaba than he did as Vegito Blue. or even how Super Saiyan 4 Vegito did against him. So this has led to the obvious conclusion that Ultra Instinct has a massive multiplier. Not only is it greater than Fusion, it's greater than Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan 4 Fusion. Now, I think the thing I have to say about this is obvious, is that's Dragon Ball Heroes. That's a different continuity than Dragon Ball Super, and this video is a Dragon Ball Super set-in video, as I made obvious in the beginning. So, don't bring that up unless you want to discuss Super Dragon Ball Heroes. You can. I won't stop you, of course, but just know that that's not what this video is about. So, that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. I really like multipliers. I'm not sure why, especially considering Vegeta's whole Saiyajins can't be understood with mere numbers thing. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below if you want to agree or debate. Share the video if you really enjoyed. Join our Discord if you want to debate there. Please say literally anything. They had the same argument for like 2 weeks. It was really annoying. So, come with something new. Subscribe for more content like this. This has been Taf1Wait, the Superiority channel, reminding you to be critical of Dragon Ball and stay supreme. Have a nice day.